An expert panel here. Let me just briefly introduce my panelists. Next to me I have Caroline Lüber, who's brand director from IWC, the watch brand. Then we have Daniel Bowers, who's the international strategy director at OMP, flying in from London. And then on his left we have Manal Khater, regional strategy director from Atelier of Burnett. And then we have Slade, Middle East Director of Operations for Aston. The theme of today and this panel discussion is how to stand out. And to just put it in context, a red supercar does not any longer turn heads here in the Middle East, unless it's a different color or put on with studded diamonds or something like that. This market is rather abundant and rather mature now. So how do brands actually differentiate themselves from the competition? And how to actually still continue to grow this market to maintain profitability and capture the extra market share? And one of the things we will look into today is limited editions, bespoke products, what really needs to happen in order to stand out. So I would like to first pass the question to one of the agencies here. Manal, if I may ask you, in terms of applying strategies, what do you see most that is of importance to the brands here in the region in order to stay ahead of the competition? And I'm sure you're also facing the issue of having headquarters dictating certain things, brand guidelines and all the old things, and at the same time wanting to make sure that it's a competitive brand from a local point of view.
Well, there's a topic that I think we spoke about a lot over the past 2 days, which is everything that's experiences and experiential immersion. It's things that you can do on the ground to involve the shoppers, to involve the consumers, because a lot of times you can't tamper with the product much. You have this one product that you need to work with, and you can't keep on customizing because you're actually not designing for one, you're designing for an entire market. So there's only a certain extent of how bespoke you can get, and not everything can be so bespoke. So you need to find something else, you need to find something adjacent to your brand that you can immerse people in, that you can provide an experience with. And experiences come offline and online, so it's not only in the store. So you can merge these two worlds, you can provide, content can be an experience, I think. Events, but not the type of events where you just sponsor something, where you really immerse people and make them live your brand, know exactly what you're talking about. One example is the recent Fondation Louis Vuitton that was done in Paris, because they said that we're not only about leather goods and we're not only about fashion, we're about creativity. So they opened this Fondation just to say that we're much more than just a fashion brand, and this is something that can set you apart from a lot of other brands. Now, Prada followed suit and they did Fondation Prada, but still that's the whole trend that brands are going in to differentiate themselves, and not just in customizing and bringing the next studded thing or the next thing with different colors or crystals or on measurement.
At the Biennale in Venice, the various brands were there in full force, so the cultural link is important.
Exactly.
From the research that I've done and the consumer understanding that I've got, you mentioned market growth. The big opportunity for market growth, it seems to me from the stats that I've seen, to be from a new generation of millennials. I think they're set to spend somewhere in the region of 815 billion this year. Increase of about 31% year on year. These guys are the guys that are going to really help with that market growth. Now, what's interesting about this audience is they put a slightly less emphasis on things like ownership and much more on things like experiences. So I totally agree with what Manal's saying. I think that bringing experience to differentiate is a really, really important